Hey Divi Nation, thank you for joining us for another episode of Divi Creator Showcase, where we interview a Divi creator from the marketplace, learning all about their story, products, and ongoing journey as part of the Divi community. Today, I am joined by David from Divi-Modules. Best known for Table Maker, Divi-Modules currently has over 2,400 sales and a 5-star rating on the Divi Marketplace. Let's learn a little bit more about David and his creations. Hey David, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good. It's great. I feel like people don't usually ask me, but yes, I am doing great. So before we get into Divi and all that fun stuff, real quick, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Sure, no worries. My name's David. I am the founder of Divi Modules. We have 7 products on the Divi Marketplace. And I'm originally from Australia, from Melbourne, Australia. My background is actually graphic design, not web design, but print design. And I worked in the design industry for about 20 years, or over 20 years in Australia. But I'm now based in Bali, Indonesia. I've been living here for about 6 years, and I started the Divi Modules business here in Indonesia.
Awesome. So now talking about Divi, how did you first stumble upon it? Because obviously you have an extensive history and whatnot, but when did you first come across Divi?
Yeah, so it was actually my wife, Nadia, that found Divi. She's a filmmaker. She makes documentary films, and she's Indonesian, which is one of the reasons that we live here now. She'd been in Australia for a couple of years already and was trying to establish herself there as a filmmaker. And one of the things that she was doing was putting up a website, and she found Divi. She doesn't have a sort of a technical background, so she was looking for something that she could manage herself. And she recommended it to me because at the time I was actually recording an album. I do music is kind of my passion and my hobby outside of my career. And I was recording an album, and I also wanted a website. And even though coding is something that I'd always done, and I probably could have coded a website myself, I wanted something quickly, and I didn't want to get too bogged down in building something myself. So I looked at Divi and decided to use it. I built a couple of websites with Divi for friends, and eventually I actually moved away from it for a little while. But when I came to Indonesia, I volunteered for 2 years for a non-profit organization here called Bumi Sehat, which is a gentle birth clinic based in Ubud, Bali, where I live. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they asked me to do was to build a website for them. And that brought me back to Divi because I needed a web solution that was easy for other people to get their head around, easy for other people to manage, something that I could just sort of set and forget.
Yeah.
But also if there was someone within the organization who took the initiative and wanted to, take more control of the website, they could do that with Divi as well, because it's, it has that capacity to expand, and it's modular. But while I was building that website, I found there was a couple of things that I wanted to add to it that didn't come with Divi. Actually, I found them in the extra theme. There were modules within the extra theme that I liked. A lot of people have this experience, I think. And so I was looking for a way to incorporate some of those things in the website, and that's what got me into coding my own modules.
Awesome. And, so going off of that, what was that first Divi product that you created yourself?
Yeah, so I started making modules actually with Brad from Divi Plugins product called Divi Module Builder. And I know you interviewed Brad just a couple of weeks ago, I think. That's a really great way to get into building modules, actually. It's a really good entry point. Because I've always been interested in coding, I ended up, looking at how it worked and sort of realizing I could probably do it myself without needing that plugin. So eventually I moved away from that. So the first modules I built were actually for this website for the nonprofit organization that I was volunteering at. But the first module that I built for myself was one called Simple Heading. which is a free module, and it's still available on the Divi Marketplace and on the DiviModules website. And I really just built that to cut my teeth, like to learn the ropes.
Yeah.
There was a need for it. I mean, there isn't a basic heading module in the Divi kit, but it was a very, it sort of ticked all the boxes for me. It was very easy to build. So I could learn the process. There was a bit of a need for it. It's something I wanted to build for myself. And it was a way of also, testing whether there was a market for this sort of stuff, because I wasn't really sure at the time whether there was.
So how long has that been now? How many years has it been since you've been
creating? Not even 2 years, actually.
Really? Oh, so it's very recent.
Very, very recent. Yeah, I mean, I launched my website in September 2019.
Wow.
So it's pretty recent, and honestly, the first year was quite quiet because the real difficulty earlier on was reaching customers, reaching Divi users, and really the only way to do that for a new business in the past was through forums, and which is fine. That's a really nice way to meet people. But since the Divi Marketplace has launched, that's really been, that's really changed things for everybody, I think, because that's a way that developers like me can, meet Divi users really easily. And so I would say, even though the business is under 2 years old, it's really only been going for a year or less.
That's awesome.
Since the marketplace launched.
Yeah, it's not often that we have someone who's still pretty fresh and new into the game. And you already have a wide variety of products like Imagebox and typewriter, text on a path, and simple heading, like you said. So can you tell us, now that it's still fresh, but how do you come up with new products? Is it something that you personally need, or are you finding things out from the community?
A bit of everything. I mean, honestly, I do look a little bit at what I'm not going to build something that already exists and that is already very successful and other people are happy with it. But at the end of the day, my whole approach with this business and with the products has just been following my heart and doing what I'm enjoying. I'm really loving this business. I never saw myself as getting into this. It just never crossed my mind. It's just happened very organically and evolved. And the same is with the modules. I mean, I make things that I need for starters. I mean, Hide and Show and Hide and Show Pro came out of necessity.
Yeah.
But if I can give you another example, there's a product I have called Text on a Path, which is not my best seller, but it's one that I really like because I built it just for me. I studied graphic design in the late 90s, and in the early 90s. That was before the internet, right? So when I first started studying, and one of the things that people used to like to do when computers started getting used for graphic design was putting text on a curvy path. That was a real novelty, and it was everywhere. Everyone did it. And so when I started building DiviModules, I just thought, I'd like to build like a bit of an homage to that, a product which allows people to put text on a path, because obviously that's something that's very easy to do now, but back in the day was groundbreaking, I suppose. So yeah, look, all sorts of different reasons, Matt.
Sure. Awesome. All right. Well, let's, you kind of brought up Hide and Show Pro, but let's start off with your bestseller, Table Maker, almost 1,800 sales. Why do you think that this is your most popular product? And for those who aren't familiar, can you explain what it is?
Yeah. Okay. So Table Maker allows you to build tables directly within the Divi Builder. Previously to Table Maker, you would have to maybe build your table externally in a third-party plugin and bring it in with a shortcode. With Table Maker, you can build tables directly in the Visual Builder, and they're responsive. So there's the big drawback with tables, of course, is they don't work so well on mobiles and tablet devices. But with Table Maker, your table can become scrollable, or it can display as an accordion or as separate mini tables. So each column can become a separate mini table for mobile devices. So, but I think the reason it's done so well is obviously there's just a need for it. But it also does create really beautiful tables. And I think the other thing that makes it attractive is it can be used by everybody, really. It can be used very simply, but if you do want to take it to the next level and you're not afraid to, use a bit of HTML or inline CSS, you can start building some quite complicated tables. Yeah.
Awesome. So now going off of that, your second bestseller, Divi Hide and Show, which combined with the Pro version has well over 500 sales right now. Can you explain what that is and why you think people are loving that so much? I know you said before that was out of necessity, right?
Yeah. So Hide and Show was first, obviously, and I built that. I was just about to release Table Maker, and I was modifying the homepage to incorporate all the graphics for Table Maker, and I was looking for a way to hide that new content until I was ready to launch. I wanted to be able to see it on the front end for myself, but hide it from everyone else. And I thought, well, is there any way of doing this? I did a bit of research, found a way to do it, and built a module just for myself. And then I realized, well, actually, if I need it, there's a good chance other people will need it. And that's how the product was born. But to show my lack of sort of strategy, I actually originally launched it as a product just called Hide It, because that's all I was using it for, was to hide things. And it just never occurred to me that people might actually want to show things as well. So I relaunched it 6 months later or something as Hide and Show. And it's conditional logic. It's basically you can hide sections, rows, or individual modules, and columns even, based on certain conditions or criteria. And so the obvious ones, the three that Hide and Show do are whether the user is logged in or not, what the user role might be, administrator or editor, for example. And then you can set a start and stop time. So you could start at the beginning of the month and end at the end of the month. Hide and Show Pro takes that up to a whole other level. It's quite a different product, even though it has the same name. And it's got 17 different conditions which can be mixed and matched. So there you can set up repeating daily, weekly, monthly, yearly schedules. You can set up custom schedules by calendar. You can hide and show things based on user role, user group, user metadata, post meta, categories, tags, site language. It's just the list goes on. And you can mix and match all of those things. So you could literally display a post or a section to one person on the second day of the second Tuesday of every month between the month of January and March. And it's quite a powerful tool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So going off of that, we've talked about a few of your extensions. I know you said that you really like Text on a Path, because of your history and stuff, but which one is your personal favorite, and which one do you think is the most useful to the average Divi user?
Yeah, I'm not sure that this one's my personal favorite. As I said, I've got a soft spot for Text on a Path because it was fun to code. And it's really, I encourage people to just go and check it out because it's super fun to use. It's not for everyone though. It's very niche, I suppose. But the one that I think is actually most useful is probably one that it's also not selling quite as well as I'd hoped. And it's one called Imagebox. And I think the reason it's probably not selling so well is because it's probably hard to imagine why you might need it. Divi already has an image module, so why do you need another one? But Divi's standard image module puts the whole image on the page. You can resize it, but you can't crop it. You can't really do anything else with it. And if you want to have different images or different proportions of the same image for desktop, tablet, and mobile, you would have to upload 3 images and then use the visibility controls to toggle them. And that's kind of wasteful and it's a lot of work. What Imagebox lets you do is to do that with one image. So it places the image into a frame, I suppose, or a box, just like a desktop publishing application, like InDesign. So you can set the proportions of the outer frame. You could have it so landscape on desktop, you could have it square on tablet and portrait on mobile. And then the image within that frame, you can scale it, position it, rotate it, and flip it. And all of those settings are responsible except the flip. but you can have completely different crops and proportions for a single image across 3 different mediums.
Wow.
On top of that, it also allows you to use the metadata from the image itself as the image title and caption on the front end. So if you've got a big library of images and you've already gone to the trouble of naming them properly and putting in your alt text and captions and descriptions, you can bring those into the front end automatically with Imagebox and style them however you like. So there's one of my customers bought it, and he left a good review. And if you don't mind, I'll just read it.
Go for it.
It kind of sums up how I feel about this product. It says, this is from a guy called Tom. He says, "This plugin is brilliant. It makes working with images in Divi way easier. Do yourself a favor and buy this already." So I get the feeling from him, he gets it. It's actually really useful, but it's probably hard to imagine how useful it is until you start using it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I totally see what you're saying about that, but it sounds, I think you just sold me. I'm ready to go check out, but that's awesome. So yeah, if you guys haven't heard about it, it has 76 sales. Definitely go check it out. It'll be linked in the description. So speaking about Divi people, do you have any advice for them? If they want to create their own product, what would you say to them right now?
Yeah. There's probably a couple of things I would say. Living where I do in Bali, we have a lot of people here doing, sort of remote work, digital nomads or whatever you want to call them. And often when I tell people what I do, they make a comment like, "Oh, so you're getting this passive income." And one thing I would sort of say to anyone who, don't be under any illusions. There's nothing passive about this work. You have to be passionate about it. It's a lot of work. You have to be focused, and you have to be very responsive. It's not passive at all. It's very responsive. You have to be responsive to support. You have to be responsive to changes that are happening within Divi and WordPress as well, and to your customers. But also when you're starting out, unless you're very fortunate to have a lot of money or people backing you, the chances are you're going to be doing everything yourself, really for the first couple of years. And so you have to have very diverse skills. You have to be able to maybe do some graphic design, web design. Obviously you have to be able to code. But you also have to be able to write. And there's a lot of writing in this business. So you really have to be able to write well. You're not just writing code, you're writing documentation, you're writing support responses, you're corresponding with other Divi developers and elegant themes as well. And most of my day is spent tapping away on a keyboard. So they're the main things I would say. So you have to be passionate about it, because all of this takes an awful lot of time and energy. But it's extremely rewarding, and it's a wonderful community to be a part of. And so if you think it's something that you want to get into, I absolutely encourage it, because the more you get into it, the more you'll enjoy it, because the more people that you'll get to know, not just your customers, but people within Elegant Themes and other Divi developers.
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. So going back to Divi-Modules, what is your vision for the future?
Yeah, so as I said, we were very young, we're very small. So we're really, at the moment, still getting all the wheels in place. I have a new product, which I'm trying to finish at the moment. And once that is out, my next focus is going to be doing a table maker update. It's getting a little bit overdue. There's lots of things that I'm aware of that need improving, or some new features that can be added. So that'll be my top priority. After that, as I said, it's getting all the wheels in place. I'd like to get better online documentation, and eventually one day I'd like to be able to offer some more resources for people to help them get started more quickly, especially with something like Table Maker, which does have a little bit of a learning curve on it.
Awesome. So it sounds like you kind of have a lot of things figured out, but we're still early. Still early. So I'm just surprised you're where you're at so early on. And because I've been interviewing people that have been doing this for a while, and it seems like, if I could buy stock in you, I feel like it'd be a good bet. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was preparing for this conversation. I was looking back at sort of the timeline of the products we released, and I was kind of finding it hard to imagine how we managed that, because since it's got a bit busier, it's really gets a lot harder to find the time to work on new products and updates and things. But I think that was partly a factor of the fact, no one knew us in the first year or so. So things were pretty quiet. I had a lot more time to dedicate to new products.
Well, I think that's perfect for the new people that want to get out there and create their own products. Great. Look at this. It took you a while. No one knew who you were. And in just a short amount of time, you're doing pretty well.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Anyone can do this, and actually, with the sort of help that we're getting now from Elegant Themes, it's becoming a lot more accessible for everyone. Yeah.
Awesome. So this is the best part of the show, I think, because anyone still watching now is obviously a big Divi fan. So is there anything you want to tell to the Divi community? Because now I feel like is the best time to do it.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I've got some people I'd like to thank. I mean, the thing is, it's a huge community, and you don't realize until you start doing this how big it is. I mean, there are, obviously I have my own customers, but there are support forums, there are Divi meetup groups, there's the Elegant the Elegant Themes staff themselves, which is very diverse and a worldwide organization. And I mean, it doesn't end there. It's a huge community, and there's been so few people which have really been helpful to me along the way. And the first person I would like to say thank you to, or the first two people, is Stella McGovern and Andrew Ang. They run a forum, a Divi forum, Facebook forum called Awesome Divi Woo and Related Topics, and they've been super helpful to me. Stella has introduced me to people within Elegant Themes that she knows, and put me forward for meetup presentations and things. So that's been fantastic. The other person I met, who's a customer of mine and a big table maker fan, is Ramon Buzon from Don Divi. And perhaps you can tell me, Matt, there's got to be more than one of him, because he's everywhere.
He's nonstop, yeah.
He's nonstop, man. I swear he has recommended Table Maker to more people than I have. He's been just amazing. And every time I do anything, I post something online, he's always one of the first people to like it and to say congratulations. So he's been hugely important to the success of Table Maker. The other thing I would just say is that everyone that I've met within Elegant Themes, and now that I'm part of the developer forums and things, the other developers that I'm meeting, everyone's just incredibly helpful and supportive, and I'm really grateful for that. So if anyone else is thinking about jumping in and starting making Divi modules, I think I might have already said this, but you people have got your back, and people will help you if you need it. And you do need help along the way, but it's there if you want it.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that said, thanks for checking out another installment of the Divi Creator Showcase series. Don't forget to check out the DiviModules creator profile linked, which will be in the video description. And with that said, we'll see you next time.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
No problem.